Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
That's all, Ethel.
This is episode 280, recorded March 5th, 2025.
Gruesome Magazine.
I never
Hope I didn't
say
offend anyone with a speech impediment.
Yeah.
Well.
And if I did, I don't care.
Yeah.
You can blame Bugs
And it's
Bunny.
not-
You can expect a long phone call.
Not
or
from a
Porky Pig.
Warner
right.
Brothers
Yeah.
cartoon. What? Huh? Okay. My name is Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Joining me tonight is Crystal Cleveland, actress and YouTuber. Crystal, how are y'all today?
Y'all.
Y'all.
I'm good. I was like, wait. I was like, you could tell you're a northerner if you're using y'all in the wrong way. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's not, if it's,
How are you?
If it's not plural. Yes, it's you, because it's like you all. Like that means you. You got to have at least one more person, Jeff. But that's cool.
I don't.
That's sweet.
Okay.
I mean, y'all. I'm glad that y'all isn't embarrassing. Like, because I have said y'all my whole life, and I used to get made fun of because of it. You know. I mean,
I'm beyond worrying about being made fun of.
That's right.
All there is to it. Also with us is Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the All of Them. How you doing, Chad?
I'm good. And I got something to share with you guys. I got a little something in the mail.
Oh, I did too from Mikey Z.
So did I.
I need
Thank
to paint mine.
So what-
It's like Pac-Man and
So-
80s cheese.
Oh wow!
It's like
Oh.
I think I've been using it as a phone
Computer,
holder. There's two
graphic
little
thing,
cool.
Oh.
Very
3D
cool.
printer thing there.
3D printed.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Hulk smash.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mikey.
Yes. We lost Crystal. All right. Last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, all around nice guy, and guy who's out of his own book.
I have my own book, but I have an order coming, and it's going to come in a box, much like this one. So
okay. There you go.
I also
A box
got
of
something.
books.
Yeah, I got something from Mikey Z. I got
excellent.
The Lawgiver from Planet of the Apes.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness.
Nice.
That's cool.
And
Very cool.
some things that you use to like clip and close cereal boxes or bags of chips, and it's in the shape of a cat, which I am all
right.
about.
Okay,
Monkeys versus cats.
Imagine
Yeah.
Okay.
this might be my favorite. This 80s
Cheese lovers?
cheese lovers, which I love. I'm gonna paint this. I'm gonna paint them both. And this is Pac-Man.
Cool.
Can you
Oh
see
yeah.
it?
Oh,
It's
okay.
so pale.
Very cool,
It's like,
Mikey.
but yeah, I'm gonna do the black with the rainbow colors, like, and then I got my name. And it's funny
I got
because
one
my
of
son
those
is born
too.
on
Yes, I got
St.
a name
Patrick's
thing
Day
too.
too.
So do
So-
these take paint well? I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm gonna try it out.
I
You
got
guessed
a
it.
4-leaf clover with Bill.
Bill.
There you go.
I'm looking over.
Thank you,
Over.
Mikey Z.
Up for.
Thank you,
A
sir.
4-leaf clover.
Very cool, Mikey.
We got some creative fans.
Yes, we do. All right.
Thanks, Chad. That I've overlooked me.
Earworm.
All right. On Decades of Horror, we partner with Play Now Media on several of their channels. And in fact, Decades of Horror, the 70s and the 80s, are on the Wicked Horror TV channel. Play Now Media is a streaming service with a bunch of subgenres that you can subscribe to. And we have a promo code that you can use with them. Decades of Horror, the 1980s, is DOH80. DOH all caps 80. And for that, you get 20% off your first payment. Now, that means if you subscribe For the monthly subscription, which is $6.99 a month to get ad-free and all the premium content, you will get $1.40 off the first month. But if you subscribe for the annual subscription, which is $50, you will get $10 off your first year.
That's whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to be a first-time subscriber, and you need to sign up via their website. So you can either search Play Now Media, or if you go to our gruesomemagazine.com and look at the podcast page for 80s, the link will be there in like the second or third paragraph in the blog. So you can do it that way. So yeah, check it out. They got a lot of good stuff there. It's amazing. I just go through there. I mean, there's what I like it for. I mean, it's got all kinds of movies. There are some quality movies there too, but I like it because there's stuff that I don't see anyplace else. Really oddball old stuff. So that's what I tend to play. All righty. What are we doing today? I lost my place. On this podcast, we'll start by giving some basic details of the film we're covering, followed by each of our first impressions of the movie, and then we'll move into a general discussion of whatever trips our triggers, hopefully related to the film. Now, in this case, we will be going slightly differently, but our film this episode is Twilight Zone, the movie, released in 1983. It's got 4 segments directed by John Landis, Steven Spielberg, Joe Dante, and George Miller. Written by John Landis, Richard Matheson, George Clayton Johnson, Jerome Bixby, Melissa Matheson as Josh Rogan, which is interesting. The cast, the leads for each episode are Albert Brooks, Dan Aykroyd, Vic Morrow, Scatman Crothers, Kathleen Quinlan, and John Lithgow. The production companies, it is a Warner Brothers production, Amblin Entertainment there too with Steven Spielberg, but that was uncredited. It was filmed in California in various locations: Santa Clarita, Peru, LA, Van Nuys, Valencia, Canyon Country, and Burbank. Filming dates are July 7th to November 11th, 1982, and the release date is June 24th, 1983. The budget was $10 million. Estimated domestic box office, $29,450,919. Worldwide box office was $42 million. These AKAs are crazy. Anybody got their French tongue on? Chad?
La quatrième dimension, which means the fourth dimension.
Yeah, sure. And in Germany,
Unheimlich Schattenlichter.
That's exactly right. Unheimlicher Schattenlichter. We don't want you licking your Schatten.
This actually makes even less sense in English than it does in German.
Yeah, eerie shadow lights. Unheimlicher is one of those words that just it means a lot of things.
Oh, okay.
In that era of eerie, shadowy horror, etc., terror. In Italy, I confini della realtà, on the edge of reality. I'm getting the impression that the phrase Twilight Zone has no meaning in foreign countries. So
it seems like this edge of reality thing gets used a lot.
In Mexico, el filo de la realidad.
Perfect.
On the edge of reality. Did I screw that up?
No, you did great. This one is easy. This is like exactly what it looks like, really.
And then in Spain, it was en los límites de la realidad, at the limits of reality. So
I wonder if that's what the Twilight Zone show is known in these other countries.
I don't know.
I'm assuming that they know about the Twilight Zone, that it's not so American that it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, you'd think so. And for this one, I put Rod Serling's picture up there in tribute.
That's as
of
you
course,
should.
yeah.
And unfortunately, doing what he did a lot, which is smoking.
Yes, he did. In almost every intro, he's holding a cigarette.
Yeah,
it's a prop.
I actually tried to find one he wasn't holding a cigarette, but I didn't. But he was the creator of this, and the legacy. I mean, this is 25 years or so after the
Pretty brilliant guy
show was
ahead of
on.
his time.
And then followed that up with Night Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he had talked about doing a film, but decided to stick with TV at that point.
Now, didn't he? Am I wrong? But wasn't he a screenwriter for like Planet of the Apes, or maybe I'm wrong?
It seems like he did write one of the drafts of that. Yeah,
I think the first, not the first one. I think he had something to do with it.
So this is Crystal's pick.
Yep.
So let's go with first impressions at this point. Crystal, hey, when did you first see this?
I was definitely a kid. Like I don't even know. I just remember this movie like kind of always being there. I will admit that I focused on two of the segments, and that is, the boy with the gifts, that Joe Dante's one episode or little bit, and the airplane, which were my two favorites, and
well, those
still
are the ones to focus
favorites.
on. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. But those are the only ones that I actually like remember watching as a kid. And I remember as a kid the boy segment, man, he was really scary and spooky, but I also thought it was kind of cool. And I remember seeing, the puppets or whatever they technically are. I just the rabbit, especially the rabbit out of the hat. I was like, oh my God, that's so neat. I do remember being a little creeped out by the kid, by the boy. I was like, God, that's really scary. Like the whole idea of that, actually. And then I've never really liked flying on planes. Not too bad, but it's gotten worse. But so that one has always been good. And I think John Lithgow is freaking amazing in that.
Yeah.
Now, I know that it's based on an episode of Twilight Zone. I think it was William Shatner, right, that did that. And so I do remember that too. And see, people say William Shatner is not a good actor. I think he's fabulous. But I still love this movie. Like, I think this movie is fabulous. It does have that controversy, and it's so bad. The whole thing's so bad, and I hate that it really taints a film that I know a lot of people put a lot of hard work into. You can tell, obviously. So that's disappointing. But also, I mean, wow, it does push some limits and some boundaries with verbiage and stuff. But I know it's meant to. It's meant to be jarring and bad. And that's why the whole segment goes the way that it does. And it's unfortunate that that's the segment that we also have controversy on that other level. It's just crazy. So, yeah. I do still think this is a fantastic film. I think that when I watch it, even still, some of it I look at and I'm like, God, that's a great shot. I love the way that they did this. Like Joe Dante's whole segment just feels surreal and crazy. And oh my God, it was so ahead of its time. I think it's a great movie. So yeah, I love this one.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you picked it. Chad, when did you first see this, and what were your impressions, and what did you think of it this time around?
I saw this in the theater, and
oh wow,
that's I loved it then, and I love it to this day. The segments are all pretty diverse. I mean, each one is telling a different story, but pretty much in the way each director that we've come to know them. It fits their personality to a T. I think the way these are presented to us, and I feel like the Joe Dante one is my favorite of all of them, and then John Lithgow's segment is the next one. And I love Scatman Crothers. I'd love him in anything he's ever been in. Hong Kong Phooey, The Shining. I just love him to death, man, and always have. And and I really think this movie would be more of a classic. I mean, I know folks might consider it a classic, but I think it would have been more highly revered if it wasn't for the accident that caused the death of the two kids and Vic Morrow and in the beginning segment. And I just I really feel that put a shadow over this film and kept it from being as big of a movie as it could have been, I should say. And but yeah, this is still one of my favorites that I love going back to watch all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Bill Mulligan, you're up next.
Yeah, I'm going to be the skunk in the garden party here. I saw this probably close to opening night at the movie theaters. By this point in my life, I was now pretty into film and the filmmaking process, so I was following all of this. I knew each of these directors, and I had high hopes. I knew about the tragedy, and I bought I'll just call it absolute bullshit that they did at the funeral of Vic Morrow, where they were like, but at least he got to finish this project, and you're going to see, that's the way he would have wanted. I mean, there's a lot about this that gets me angry. And when I saw the movie, we'll talk about each one of these. I have a problem with the prologue, but I had a big problem with that first episode because it's so obvious that it's truncated. It doesn't actually tell a Twilight Zone story. It's on its way to, and then it ends. And you whether this is the case or not, because I've heard different things, it feels like they had something to do and they could only work with what they had. And it's not great. It's not good at all. It's so. We'll talk about it. So there's that. The second one is so weak. Spielberg, it's so sentimental. Spielberg's one of our greatest directors, top 5 in my lifetime, but he can get very sentimental. And boy, he let that fly. And this is the segment that spawned the magical Negro trope, because it's just so there are parts of it I like. The kids are wonderful, but then, as predicted, Dante comes through and takes one of the best Twilight Zone episodes ever and does an amazing thing, really flips it. It tells a very different story, very different tone, but it's really good, really intriguing, and has absolutely wonderful effects. And then another great episode, John Lithgow, and I'm with Crystal. I thought Bill Shatner did a great job on that. The only thing that was holding it back was the gremlin was terrible, and you're just a guy in a pajama suit. I mean, it's like a costume that would have been rejected from Lost in Space. Well, they fixed that problem, and did a fantastic job, and that was a good send off. So 2 out of 4 episodes are really good. One of them is. Not my cup of tea. And the other one probably should have been canceled. I can understand why they didn't, but and unfortunately, my feelings of this movie are colored by the fact that I've read many accounts of it. There's a book out. I can't remember the name of, but it goes into detail, and I defy anyone to read that and not become viscerally angry. Outrageous conduct, art, ego, and the Twilight Zone case. There are people who should be rotting in prison as we speak from what happened all those years ago. And instead, they didn't even get a slap on the wrist. A slap would have been a step up from what they got. So, very, it shows you Hollywood at its absolute worst. All that said, take that away. It's worth watching. It's worth watching. It's just, unfortunately, I'm doing what I keep telling other people they should, learn to separate the art from the artist. And I can do that for most things. Otherwise, I'd never watch a Klaus Kinski movie again. But for whatever, this movie, when I'm watching at least the scenes with Vic Morrow, I'm just put myself in a state of anger. But not everyone has to be crazy like me. So definitely worth watching. And it is It's unusual to see a portmanteau done with Hollywood standards and Hollywood budgets and all the bells and whistles that Hollywood could bring. Although, let me just point out, Amicus never killed anyone. So maybe there's something to be said for the little indie productions and how they go about their business. See, I'm getting pissed off all over again now. It's like
easy to do.
Yeah.
To do.
Mhm.
All right. I kind of knew that might happen. So I saw this in the theater as well, and I liked it. I was kind of disappointed because I'm such a big fan of the show, and I felt like the actual three of these segments were in the show and in season 3 and season 5, and they were much darker, I think. And so it's interesting how this kind of turned out. However, I still like it a lot. And I'm going to hold off most of my comments until we go through the segment by segment. But I will say one of the things that makes it is Jerry Goldsmith's score. And I kind of wonder if I watch Kick the Can with a different score, if it would sound as syrupy sweet, because the score is really syrupy sweet for that segment. But anyway, all right. And it's now time for Taglines with Chad. I decided to block my face instead of Chad's this time.
Oh, crap.
There's not very many, but they're not really even taglines.
They're not. I was like, what is this? What is this crap? Okay. On June 24th, 4 acclaimed directors, George Miller, John Landis, Joe Dante, and Steven Spielberg, take you to another dimension.
No, okay.
Yeah, okay.
That is definitely not a tagline.
Or in Europe, another reality.
Sure.
Yeah. Either way. Whatever trips your trigger, as Jeff likes to say. You're traveling through another dimension into a wondrous land whose only boundaries are that of the imagination. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
I mean, it goes along with their whole thing, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's pretty close to his TV show intros. And so is the next one.
You're still traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of the imagination. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Okay.
This is a long journey. I hope you brought snacks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Crystal steps all over Crystal.
I forgot.
I do too sometimes. It's okay.
All right. Well,
it's taglines. Sometimes I forget there's taglines.
Okay, so look.
That's a horrible poster.
Yeah, I was going to say, first of all, those taglines lack all imagination. So maybe they should have hung out in that dimension a little bit longer, get some inspiration. And this poster,
ugh, God, it's tragic.
I mean, it's a lot of credits. It's like credits, the movie.
That's the one I saw in the frames at the movie theaters.
Yeah, I didn't find any others.
The only other ones are from DVDs. There are some foreign posters, but we got so much to talk about, I didn't try to pull any of them up either. So this seems like, but this is the one. That's the one you see. It's got the Twilight Zone font and all that stuff. But yeah, wow. Credits are us there at the bottom. And there's the tagline.
If it were released today, they'd have to do something else because I don't think enough of these kids today, they haven't had the opportunity to watch this show as I did every day of my life up to a certain point. There there were a lot of stations back then that only showed black and white TV shows.
Oh,
I Love Lucy, Twilight Zone, Hazel. I mean, My Three Sons, and Twilight Zone was always in the mix. So yeah, I watched it.
yeah, I know I've talked about this before, but my parents would not let me watch it. And they always said, you'll have nightmares. But I think the real reason was they didn't like it. And something else was on that they wanted to watch. So the only time I
Probably.
can remember seeing it live, and it's just by happenstance, we were at somebody else's house, and they were playing the occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good
And
one.
so I'm, the grown-ups are talking, and I'm down right in front of the TV watching this, hoping nobody notices and not making any noise, and absolutely loving it.
Get
and
blown
then-
away by that ending.
Yeah, and then when I was older, we got a UHF channel, and they started playing Twilight Zones at like 10:30 at night, and so that was in like mid 70s, late 70s, or even around 1980. Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah, see, my dad loved this show. He loved Ray Bradbury short stories and short things like this. And he would tell us us kids, when we were on our long drives, to the best of his recollection, he would describe a Twilight Zone episode to us. And then later on, I got to see him, and he got most of it right. It was sort of interesting watching the actual show and realize, that the things he got wrong is like, well, you didn't get that quite right, but I kind of like your version a little better. But yeah, so this has always been a big favorite of mine, the show.
All right. So as we go through this, we're going to go episode by episode, and we have the lead-in intros, and we'll take turns reading those. The first one is segment 1.
Well, do we want to do the prologue first?
Well,
Are we gonna
I
talk
put
about
them together, and there's
okay.
there's on the card. So let's do the read-in to yeah.
The
Let's
prologue isn't really like.
Yeah, it's they didn't do an intro to it like
No, they didn't.
like a Twilight Zone intro, and also just so everybody knows, Burgess Meredith is the one who did the
Right,
intros.
which is cool because he was in one of the best episodes.
Yeah, actually more than one, I think.
Yeah.
But all right, I got to scroll down here. Where am I?
Do you want me to?
Taglines, blah blah blah. Let's have Bill. If you want
Okay.
to read the segment 1 is Time Out.
Time Out. I wish I could do a Serling imitation, but I can't. You're about to meet an angry man, Mr. William Connor, who carries on his shoulder a chip the size of the national debt. This is a sour man, a lonely man, who's tired of waiting for the breaks that come to others but never to him. Mr. William Connor, whose own blind hatred is about to catapult him into the darkest corner of the Twilight Zone.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the info on it. So the reason I put them together is they're both written and directed by John Landis.
That's true.
The prologue cast are Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd. And then segment 1, Time Out, the cast is Vic Morrow, Charles Hallahan, Doug McGrath, and John Larroquette. Otherwise, people are fleeting. But John Larroquette is one of the people that became much more well-known later on, as he plays a KKK member.
Yeah. That's wild.
And Charles Hallahan has some cred from what, Chad?
John Carpenter's The Thing, Norris.
Yep. He's the guy with the great transformation.
On this episode or this segment, the special makeup effects artist, now it listed Craig Reardon, who we have talked about before.
Yes.
And it lists him for all 4 segments. But then there's other people that are added for specific segments. And this one, just the straight up makeup artist, was listed as Bob Westmore.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I'm thinking
and-
Bob Westmore made Dan Aykroyd look like Dan Aykroyd, and then Craig Reardon made him look like a monster.
It's Westmoreland. I'm sorry. I knew that didn't look right. All right.
You're thinking Bud Westmore.
I am. So anyway, so the makeup was Bob Westmoreland. And the synopsis, A bigot hates Jews, blacks, and Asians and is transported to situations where he feels the effects of his hatred.
Yep.
All right. First, we have a little piece from the prologue. And I'll tell you what, I friggin' love this. I absolutely love this. And for no other reason than my brother and I played the theme song game when we were riding around in the car with my parents in the 60s. You'd sing the theme song and try to guess what TV show it was from, depending on how good we could actually duplicate it. So I love that. And then just the, and Creed's Clearwater starts out with Creed's Clearwater. Oh my God. And then, so anyway, I love this segment. So I'm curious as to what other people thought and what Bill didn't seem to like it.
What's the problem with Bill? This whole episode is going to be what's Bill's problem? That's what they should subtitle. So, okay. I think it goes on a little too long. But I really like both these actors a great deal. So, and they are doing exactly what myself and my friends would be doing in a car back then, because, we didn't have DVD players or anything, and our tapes always got mangled. So, the problem I have is this would have been a great segment for Night Gallery, the movie, but Twilight Zone was not about jump scares. Yeah. It's about irony and moral lessons and stuff. And there's no reason for this.
It's just dumb. Sorry.
Okay, so
dumb.
we agree. There you go.
Sorry.
Look at that.
I'm so sorry.
Wow, Crystal really disagrees
sorry.
with me too. Crystal and I are on the same page here.
Oh yeah, no. The first one I totally agree. I 1000% agree with Bill. It went on too long first. And how do they not know Hawaii 5-0? I have literally never watched that stupid show my whole life.
Yeah, even people
and
don't
yet
know
I
would
knew
know
exactly what it was. Yeah. I'm like, no. I mean, come on, y'all. Yeah.
Cool monster though.
He was having a brain fart.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care for it much either. It was.
Oh God, I'm the only one.
It's I love Dan Aykroyd. I love I love Dan Aykroyd a lot. Albert Brooks, I can't watch anything he's in without thinking of Finding Nemo. But this, and I don't buy him being into Creedence Clearwater Revival for some reason.
Oh, I agree.
Albert Brooks. Dan Aykroyd, yeah, but I can't see Albert Brooks being into Creedence.
Yeah, he seems more like he's into bread or air
supply. Something like that. But it doesn't make any sense for the movie. It doesn't make any sense for the Twilight Zone. And you don't really know what happened. I mean, they parked the car. You don't know if he just scared his friend and then he turned back into Dan Aykroyd. You don't know if he killed his friend. If so, if he did, why would he do that? For what reason would he do that? It just made no sense to me. I mean, it's cool. The monster's cool and everything looks cool.
I have
but
a hot take there.
It just didn't make any...
I think the monster looks like Dukiki. Like, it's just not great. It's too blue. It looks ridiculous.
You're looking at a still. It doesn't happen.
I think it looked a little different. Let me say two things in the defense before we throw Jeff to the wolves here. One, if this movie were to have a meme, this would be it. This is the one line that everyone remembers from the movie. So, there's that.
But not me. I honestly, I didn't even remember this part. Probably because I blocked it from my memory because it's so bad.
Yeah. And it does.
I feel very strongly about how shitty this is. Like, that's why I was like, no, let's not talk about the prologue. Let's just let
the movie something that portmanteaus often have a hard time with is how do we end this thing? How do we, do we just, the fourth episode's over, here go the credits. This allowed them to have a callback to an earlier scene.
Which made even less sense.
Well, it's got a little bit of a wraparound, but it doesn't really there's no connecting tissue in any of them. No. They just fade from one to the next, and you get a new narration. You can argue about it not belonging, but I love it. So there. All right. So now into the one Crystal wanted to talk about. Time Out. You want to do the accident first or the other stuff first?
I think we should talk about the accident first
Let's get
because
it out of
I
the
don't
way.
know enough about it, and I'd rather know more about it.
Here's the thing. So the premise of this, as a very bigoted guy, in fact, he's uber bigots. Archie Bunker would say, "Tone it down, pal." He's just the sort of guy who's just throwing slurs around in a bar where he would have his ass would be beaten to within an inch of his life. But okay, and then he is suddenly he's in Nazi Germany and they seem to see him as a Jew. He's back in Alabama and Klanners think that he's a black guy. He's in Vietnam and they're shooting at him like he's one of the Viet Cong. So he's becoming, the targets of bigotry. All right, fine. As Crystal said, Twilight Zone often had very broad moral things. They were not afraid about, tackling some.
He was for
pretty
the small
stuff.
person. He
Yeah, he
actually
was.
fought. Rod Serling was very big on civil rights and fighting for
right,
minorities and all of that. That's one of
not
the
a
reasons
fan
why
of the
I love.
Nazis. So this actually works as a kind of Twilight Zone thing, but also there should have been some redemption, and that's where these two young children, too young actually to be there, were brought in. That at some point after being abused and shot at, and maybe learning a lesson, he is in Vietnam and finds these two Vietnamese kids, maybe they're orphans, and he is determined to save them from being shot at. And I guess there's a scene taking place in a Viet Cong village, and U.S. helicopters are blasting away. And this was done very late at night. These kids the families were being paid under the table. There were not the legal protections that children would have under any circumstance, much less one as dangerous as this. And Landis insists to the dying day it was the special effects people. They set off things too close. All precautions were taken. Bullshit. It's this. You could just, and I've watched the footage. Clearly dangerous, unnecessary. You don't have to have an actual helicopter flying around people to make it look like a helicopter is flying around people. That's the magic of movies. You can do close-ups. You can do inserts. I know they didn't have the special effects we have then, but it wasn't necessary to actually have an actual helicopter with real flames bursting up. These things are delicate under the best of circumstances. The helicopter was unable to stay in motion. It fell on them. That picture right there is the last seconds of the lives of these three.
He's just off screen, actually.
Yeah, and
of that
if you're so inclined, you can find the footage because it was being shot by a dozen cameras. So we have a dozen different takes of these people being killed, and it's absolutely appalling and unnecessary.
Yeah, what I just read and listened to some stuff, that it was, number one, it was against the law in California to have kids around explosions in movie scenes. And number two, they weren't allowed to work past 8 p.m. and it was 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, God.
I mean, all of us, except maybe Jeff, have worked on indie movies and stuff where we've been working at 2:30 in the morning, and you're not crisp. You're not at your best. You're stumbling over your lines and everything else around you. This is absolutely.
Well, I even saw. I'd like to see the NTSB report because different people said different things that it said, and I'm sure it doesn't contradict itself. But they said the rear rotor was what happened, and the one of the blades broke off and another one delaminated. Well, if one delaminated first, that would throw the balance off enough to have one of them break off. You've got this big thing going fast, and it's all out of balance. But they couldn't. Somebody argued that the heat from those explosions would not have delaminated that rotor. But none of that matters. I don't think. To me, Landis, they had this big trial. And they're all what's the word I want? They were all found not guilty.
Yep.
I can't
And
believe that's crazy.
Everybody
and it's obvious as hell that Landis was at minimum violating the laws around kids working on films.
I think
at that point, John Landis knew very well what the law was regarding those kids.
Oh yeah.
I don't care what he said. I watched the show Cursed Films, and they had an episode of this, and I just could not believe the negligence of what went on and the tragedy of this, and how they just got off completely scot-free.
Yeah.
From it. It's unbelievable.
I think this might be a case maybe where some blame has to go to the prosecution, that they thought they had a slam dunk case and maybe tried to go for something more than an easy conviction. They went for the whole enchilada, forgetting that audiences, in which are people on the jury, are still kind of have stars in their eyes about Hollywood and movie making, and might be inclined to forgive and forget. I don't know. I would have found him guilty.
And I saw some there was so many implications. I'd be actually kind of be interested in seeing that book, because somebody was implying that word got to the jury that Landis was going to make a documentary, and that they would have the jurors play themselves.
Ooh.
And
what?
I don't remember reading that. I'll tell you that book is 100% biased against him.
Well, but that. So
but I think that's the way I would fall too.
There was also a story. Multiple witnesses said that he said things like after they did the run through, that somebody said, "Those are too big. We got to tone those down." And he goes, "Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet."
Yeah.
So he paid no attention to that. The other thing was he was continually telling the pilot to fly lower.
Yeah.
And he was at like 25 feet already, so there was no chance. Anyway, I was looking at that footage, and they were putting Vic Morrow through hell, and those kids. I mean, he's trying to carry those kids under his arm and stagger across this pond that's like 3-4 feet deep, and with the helicopter downwash blasting him. I mean, it's anyway.
It's pushing him. He's.
And apparently he made some comment to somebody. I saw a couple different reports of that where he said, "I must be crazy to do this stunt."
Yeah, they should be paying me double for this. So. You take
and it does
like that. Eventually, the time comes when the dice rolls badly.
Well, 25 feet is not that high in the air at all.
No.
At all.
No. And helicopter down, the blast from those is incredible. I mean, the wind from that is holding up this, I don't know how much they weigh, over a ton, I'm sure, holding it up in the air.
Accidents happen all the time under normal weather conditions, not having.
Oh, helicopters are funky.
Yeah, I mean. So anyway. I mean, it of course soured everything, and apparently from what we've read, a lot of the other directors, they wanted to wash their hands of the whole thing, and
I think that you have to think about that too. I specifically read that where Spielberg didn't want to go ahead, and that they kind of implied that he sort of mailed in his segment. I don't think that's totally true, but I can see them wanting to be done with it.
I know George Miller left without even like contributing with the editing.
No post production from him. Yeah. Anyway,
that sucks. And that's what's so hard. It's like you want to not support the film, and then the rest of but like you could tell a lot of people worked really hard on this. And there's a lot of other people involved. Yeah, it's like
the average moviegoer has no idea what goes on behind the scenes. Even if to read a newspaper article like that, they'll read the headline, maybe a few lines of oh man, that's too bad. I didn't know that when I went to see it.
Right.
But
I definitely didn't know about the accident even until more recently. Like I didn't even realize that there was such neglect.
The kids' parents were on the
Oh
scene.
my
So yeah,
God.
they hired them
Yeah.
under the table. They weren't SAG, they weren't not union. They paid them under the table, and they told the parents say they told them it wasn't dangerous at all, and nobody told them there was
Okay.
going to be explosions.
And so part of the reason I don't like this episode is that in addition to this happening, they took all the scenes with the kids out. I don't know how much else had been shot before that disaster happened, but that's gone. So now all we have is a story of a bigot who suffers the suffering of people who also have been victimized by bigotry, and then presumably he dies. The end. Boom.
No lesson learned.
That's not a Twilight Zone story. No, we don't
Well,
see
then-
the redemption. We don't see that he's
Right.
really learned anything other than being shot hurts.
So there was a certain amount of, that was the idea behind it, I think, was he saves the kids. And
Well, that
but
was
he
his
still
arc.
ends up-
That was the character's arc, and it just completely ruined that,
But here's the crazy thing. Everything that I've read claims that it still was going to end the same way it ended.
right. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Which
And he was gonna carry the kids. The helicopter was gonna land. They'd get on the helicopter and fly away, and then a grenade would go off and blow him back into Nazi Germany, and he'd get thrown on the train
Well,
to the concentration camp, just like it did.
There's
So,
definitely been Twilight Zone stories where someone has maybe a slight redemption. It doesn't forgive them
right.
from what they've done, nor should it excuse them for being punished. So
It just
I don't think
feels
that's
like
that crazy.
it just feels to me that if Rod Serling were writing this, the ending would be that he saves those kids, and that's for whatever reason having he's dumped back where he was and is a changed man,
and congratulates the guy that got his job or something.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe
Yeah.
and maybe some ironic twist that it turns out he meets these kids now adults. I don't know, something more positive. Serling fundamentally seemed to have a positive view of humanity. He wasn't afraid of showing the ugliness, but I think he really believed that we were capable of learning, and that the Twilight Zone was part of his way of doing that. So.
And I think Landis missed the whole point of that when he wrote this is the redemption part of it.
And it takes away, Vic Morrow, he was really happy about this role. He really thought that it was a great
He
opportunity.
does a great job.
But it is. He's a great job as a bigot. I would have liked to have seen him be able to actually show the other side too.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't to be. And look, I love Landis. I mean, I love Landis's stuff. American Werewolf in London, one of the best. I love Schlock. It's funny. And the Thriller video, I would say, is one of the top 5 most influential zombie bits of business that has ever been done. When you think of zombies, you think of George Romero, you think of Return of the Living Dead, and you do the zombie dance from Thriller. That's the big 3 that made the zombies into the cultural icons that they were. This guy was incredibly influential.
Blues Brothers, one of the best comedies ever.
Trading Places is one of my favorites.
Animal House.
Yeah. So, but this did put a stain on his career. He did make some hits afterwards, like Trading Places and Coming to America, I think.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah,
no, Coming to America.
But when it ended, when the ride ended, it ended. And Burke and Hare was the last thing he ever worked on, as far as I know.
Well, and I think what I read was the trial. That stuff didn't end until like 1990. Does that sound right, Bill?
It went on for quite a while, and it caused a lot of friction. Like it caused a lot of friction between him and Eddie Murphy, because he thought he wanted Eddie Murphy to go at the trial and do a character thing. And
right.
Yeah. Murphy in one of the mic drop moments of all time, when they asked, "Are you ever gonna do another movie with John Landis?" He said, "Vic Morrow's gonna do another movie with John Landis before I do."
Oof.
Yikes! Yeah. And there he is. Now, Jeff, I know you have a lot to say about Vic Morrow. He's got to be a favorite of yours.
Well, he is, and my introduction to Vic Morrow was Combat.
Mm-hmm.
He was Sergeant Saunders on Combat, and he was like literally my hero when that was on. I think I was maybe 10. But whenever that's what we did. We played Army, and I had this busted little gun. It was like a cork rifle. You guys ever have one of those?
Oh yeah, of course.
I had a cork rifle that all the barrel and the trigger and all that stuff had come off it. So all I had was a wood stock. That was my Thompson submachine gun, running through the neighborhood. And anyways, I loved Combat. That was a show that I watched every episode, and I have watched a lot of them since then, and they hold up pretty good. They hold up pretty good. In terms of trying to send a message and things like that regarding war. But so yeah, that's my thing. That's why I loved. That's how I was introduced to him. Of course, I think he got his start with Blackboard Jungle. Does that sound right?
He had early success, and I think wasn't he one of the first major Hollywood type actors to go into TV with Combat? Like that was usually considered you were on your downward swing when you went to TV, but he actually made it work for him. But this was, by the time Twilight Zone came along, his star was definitely not where it had been. And he did see this as a chance to make a bit of a comeback.
I forgot about some of these Bad News Bears too.
Yeah, he was the coach, right?
Yeah. The asshole coach.
I gotta tell you though, like watching this, I'm like, oh my God, Jennifer Jason Leigh looks so much like him.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. I see him in her like so much, like the lip, and she does this kind of thing, and he did the exact same thing. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, his first film was Blackboard Jungle with Sidney Poitier, Glenn Ford. It was nominated for 4 Oscars. So
it's a little cringy watching the scene in the bar because it's so over the top. I'm not saying there aren't people like that, because if someone were like that now, they'd become an internet sensation because everybody would take out their phones like, do you know who this person is and who he works for? And just how openly racist he is as opposed to the more casual racism
and he doesn't care who hears him.
No, he doesn't. But you got to remember, this was the time when I was in high school. They showed us a video. That was a rare treat. And it was, oh, God help us all, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby talking to the camera. His face is with white lines. So he's like white and black. And he just says every racial and ethnic slur you can. He's like a bigot telling you what he thinks about everyone. We discovered ethnic slurs we didn't even know existed. Wow. I didn't know people hated the Irish, but apparently they do. And that was, to show us. It's like, and I look back on it now and I'm like, wow, I don't know if they really thought this through. Also, it was Bill frickin' Cosby. So, wow, that aged poorly.
So we've had him in a couple of movies.
Yep.
What was the one on the bottom right there?
That's The Last Shark.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he's in that. He was in The Evictors, and Humanoids from the Deep.
He's in the opening fake sequence that they stuck in there with Cameron Mitchell.
Or
am I totally wrong here?
You're totally of what? The Last Shark?
No, Humanoids from the Deep.
No, he's in there quite a bit. He's you're thinking of Fishman, I think.
Isle of the Fishman, yeah.
That's what did we do? The scanners, Screamers.
Oh yes, you're right. You're right.
Screamers. That's got Cameron Mitchell in the beginning, but then the Evictors, he's like he has Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. He plays the sheriff. He's good at playing those guys, and I think that's what he is in Humanoids from the Deep, I think.
And he's in Message from Space, one of the wackier Star Wars ripoffs.
The Evictors is like a ghost story, right? Or a haunted house movie or something like that.
We did that.
Yeah.
It had Michael Parks. It was a weird southern gothic.
Yeah, it was
thing
an odd little movie.
by the
seem to remember it.
director of what's the Sundown movie? I can only
Just
remember.
Before Sundown.
Yeah, well,
Town That Dreaded Sundown.
yes. I think the director of that did Evictors, which is why I picked it. Michael Parks, Jessica Harper, Charles Pierce was the director. Sue Ann Langdon was in it too. Anyway, it was an interesting movie. Why am I talking about that now? We got lots to talk about. So Vic Morrow, that's a sad ending, and that God dang, he was. I think he thought, here I am in this movie with these big name successful directors now.
Yeah.
You know.
I think people expected this was going to be a summer blockbuster. With that cast and that the crew and everything, it had all the ingredients. So I'm sure he was very happy to be cast.
All right. Well, should we move on to episode 2? Second segment, Kick the Can. Let's see. Chad, got the narration there.
For Kick the Can. It is sometimes said that where there is no hope, there is no life. Case in point, the residents of Sunnyvale Rest Home, where hope is just a memory. But hope just checked into Sunnyvale, disguised as an elderly optimist who carries his magic in a shiny tin can.
Yeah. All right. So this one is directed by Steven Spielberg, written by George Clayton Johnson. I think it's from a story of his, and Richard Matheson. What happened was Richard Matheson had his hand in, I think, most of these episodes. George Clayton Johnson, I think, wrote the original. And then Melissa Matheson is Josh Rogan. I didn't look into that, but that just seems...
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering why she took a pen name.
And segment cast, Scatman Crothers, Bill Quinn, Martin Garner, Selma Diamond, Helen Shaw, Murray Matheson, Peter Bracco, and Priscilla Pointer. Priscilla Pointer was the nurse, or the head lady there. Peter Bracco was the guy that was mute. Murray Matheson was the Douglas Fairbanks type. Helen Shaw was the old lady that wanted to dance. And then Selma Diamond and Martin Garner were the Weinsteins. And that's Bill Quinn in that picture. And I picked him because he's got like 150 credits. And we just did a film he was in, Dead and Buried.
Dead and Buried, yep.
So anyway, who wants to go dive into this one? We've got, Scatman Crothers.
Yep. And he's by far my favorite part of that episode.
Well, you said something about the magic Negro thing, but that never crossed my mind. I'm not saying that's not a thing, but it's not something that ever crossed my mind.
Yeah, I think now that I think about it, I think it's actually the legend of Bagger Vance that probably started that. But, this one certainly fits the trope. Even to the end where it's like, and then off he goes with his magic can to bring joy to a bunch of other old white folks in a old folks home.
Those are interesting homes too. I mean, they're like dormitories. They're like multiple people and like a
that kind of looks like fun. I mean, maybe something to look forward to.
Oh, right.
Okay, can I just run something by folks?
Flatulence in that room.
I'm having like a Mandela effect moment because I would have sworn, I would have bet my own money that at the end, because it opens up with one of the saddest things possible. This poor guy who thinks he's going to go home with his son and grandkids and everything and have a weekend with the family. And they're maybe next time, Dad. He's got his bags packed. I mean, it's so pathetic and sad. I swore that I thought it was this, but it must have been something else, where at the end we see, now that everything's been resolved, and that he is going off with his kid, his kids and grandkids.
That's a TV show episode.
Oh, so that's what happened in the TV show.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I haven't lost my marbles yet. Okay.
Not altogether.
That makes...
Spielberg gets a lot of flack sometimes for how sappy and stuff, some of his stuff can be. And this is the epitome of all all the sappy things that he's ever done. This one is the most sappy, but there's something about it, and it's probably Scatman's performance in it that really makes me like this one. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't care for it very much.
Yeah,
it's just he brings something to it that if he wasn't there, let's say, I don't know, somebody else was in there, some other famous older guy that everybody knew, it kind of wouldn't turn out the same, I don't think.
It's
yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was
say it better than
right. The writing's a little too obvious. First of all, I do love the kids. I think it's the most enjoyment I get from it is that the little kids were cast well, and that they still have, because they still have the minds of the older person they are. So that's cute. But okay, so we have a Jewish couple. Now, how do we establish that they're a Jewish couple? I think there's a lot of ways you could do that if you felt that was necessary. But do you have to have them? It's like, oi gewalt. It's like I've known a lot of Jewish people in my life, but to me, that's like, how do we let people know he's British? Or how do we say "cor blimey" a lot? Yeah, Mashugana. It's like cringe. But I did love the kids, and the fact that they still, the woman who's got the Jewish wife and everything. When she's a little kid, it's like, like, all right, that's fun.
Oh, and Thelma Diamond is actually a great character actor too.
Yeah,
she's got that raspy, low voice, and anyway, she's got a lot of credits as well.
But, and in fairness,
Bill Quinn, I think, has over 200 credits. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of Twilight Zone episodes that are pretty sugary, sweet, sappy, sentimental. That was part of the balance. So it does, I think, make sense in a Twilight Zone movie that we show the totality of what the show was like, and so it's not that it's out of place. It's just, I got to watch my sugar levels, and this one. I had to do an extra double dose of Monjoro that week.
Well, yeah. I mean, this one was made well, and it is, it kind of tugs at your heartstrings, which I hate that crap. Okay. It just kind of reminds me, I do. The reason I watch horror is to not watch shit like this, like Cocoon. Is what, and it's like, ugh. Mm-hmm. But, I do like Scatman. Like, he's just, there's something about him that just like,
he oozes charisma.
Heart. Yeah.
He's got that. He's got star quality all over.
He's a huge presence.
Yeah. And like when he smiles, it's like, okay. But yeah, I mean, hit or miss. I mean, honestly, I think it would have been better maybe if that one was like toward the end. It's kind of odd that it was like up front. I feel like, or if it came in between, the two good ones. I say the two good ones. That's so you'd have like a little down and up. I mean, it just seemed like. I feel like the whole thing started off so. The prologue is poop, and then that first episode, because of everything that happened, that's poop, and this one was just whimsical, and then you get into the meat. Yeah, so like, I don't know. I think maybe
You
the order could have been better.
looking at that picture, it's a shame no one ever tried. Would it have been interesting casting to have Scatman Crothers as an evil character?
Yes, I was thinking
The
this when he
devil, yeah.
smiles. Yeah, no, I actually, when he smiled, I was like, you love him, but there's also something that's like, uh-oh.
Because if the devil's going to show up, he's not going to look like the Underwood deviled ham guy with horns and looking scary. He's going to look like Scatman Crothers. You're like, yes, I will sign that contract. I trust this man.
Yeah, I forgot. Selma Diamond was the bailiff on Night Court.
Oh my God, yes, she was. Her voice is so distinctive. It's so great.
And she had that same kind of, like I don't.
Yeah.
Miss Sugar now.
I don't care about this. I love that little the
little
Mrs. Dempsey. Yeah, her, but also Mrs. Dempsey's version looked like almost like a variation on Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Mrs. Dempsey, Laura Mooney.
So
not a whole lot of credits, but anyway, yeah, it's just too. To me, it isn't that I don't mind happy endings. I just hate when they get into that syrupy sweet music. I just makes me want to puke. I was the same way with E.T. I hated E.T. because I felt like, man, I was getting played all the way through that movie. Anyway, that's just me.
Well, Spielberg kind of went through that whole period of the Goonies and just sappy kid
amazing stories as well.
Amazing stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where it wasn't so much, it was all like fantasy based type stuff. And this is very clearly a fantasy. It's not meant to scare you. It's not meant to, I don't know if it really taught anybody a lesson except for, be careful what you wish for. You might not want it when you get it or something, but it's right for Spielberg at this time. That's about what he was into at that time in his life, I guess.
This is not the Spielberg who needed to make Schindler's List around that time. He needed a few more years behind him. But look, like I said, he is one of our absolute greatest directors and such range. In the space of like a year, he makes Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. You can't imagine two movies that are so diametrically opposite each other, except that they're both fantastic.
Well, and Saving Private Ryan was a phenomenal film as well. All right, let's move on here. Episode 3. Well, just a minute. Crystal, you read the narration for "It's a Good Life."
It's a Good Life. Portrait of a woman in transit. Helen Foley, age 27. Occupation, school teacher. Up until now, the pattern of her life has been one of unrelenting sameness, waiting for something different to happen. Helen Foley doesn't know it yet. But her waiting has just ended. Why do I want to laugh? Sorry.
Hey, if they ever remake The Fog again, they should have you do the Adrienne Barbeau role. You got a voice for it.
I like to do fun voices. It's good.
You're like Delilah.
All right. It's a Good Life. Directed by Joe Dante.
So good. Oh my God.
Hey, what the actual hell is Opie holding there?
Well, that's Bill Mummy in the original one. And I was going to mention this, but I think the original one is much darker than this.
Oh yeah,
yes. It's a Good Life. He's playing in this bush, and the guy looks over to see what it is, and it's a gopher with 3 heads. He makes new animals all the time, and then he holds one up. That's like, what's wrong with that one? Well, I got tired of him, so I made him dead. Anyway, directed by Joe Dante, written by Richard Matheson from a story by Jerome Bixby. The cast includes Kathleen Quinlan, who is the school teacher. Jeremy Licht is the boy. Kevin McCarthy. Oh boy, do we know Kevin
Mhm.
McCarthy. Patricia Berry, William Shallart. Boy, we know him too. Actually, they were both in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I think, the
Oh.
original one. Nancy Cartwright, who is the voice of.
Don't have a cow, man.
Oh my gosh, that's the voice of Bart Simpson.
It is
I didn't. Wow. Okay. Sorry.
Bill
No.
Bill Mummy, who
He actually
was in
pronounces it Moomy.
does he? Bill Mummy,
Yeah.
who was in the original episode of this on Twilight Zone, but also what else?
Danger, Will Robinson.
Lost in Space, and years later, Babylon 5. He had a key part in Babylon 5.
Oh, I was going to say Barnes and Barnes. They did the
Okay.
great song Fish Heads.
Fish heads, roly poly fish.
Yay,
heads.
Crystal.
Him and Bill Paxton, right?
Yep.
And Dick Miller.
Yay, Dick Miller.
Who has the same name in every
His
Joe
name is
Dante
Walter,
movie.
and
Yeah.
it's Joe Dante. Special effects on this one, again, Craig Reardon, but Rob Bottin was
Killed
the
it.
makeup effects and designer, and Margaret Prentice was a cosmetic painter on Bottin's crew. She was uncredited. And then makeup artist was John M. Elliott Jr. And the synopsis, pretty much what you read. A traveler hits a boy on a bicycle with her car, takes the boy home. Soon she learns that the powerful boy brought her home indeed. Anyway, the picture there, that's Bill Mummy has a cameo part in this episode, and he was the powerful little boy in the original Twilight Zone episode. That's the other picture there.
Well, now you're right about this not being as dark. I've enjoyed this particular story in 3 different versions. The original short story by Bixby is fantastic and so dark and so scary. It's pure horror with a little bit of something like science fiction thrown in. The original Twilight Zone story was as good as they could probably get away with at the time, and is really, gruesome and no happy ending there. And then there's this one, and I think they made a wise choice to maybe go in a different direction.
They did. They went to the cartoon instead of the disfigured creature.
Yeah. I think it would have been too much of a gut shot to follow Spielberg's story with a original version of, modernized of It's a Good Life.
Well, I somewhere I read that the guys after Time Out, they ended up taking an edge off a little bit. Although I don't know about Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, but I'm telling you, go back and watch those episodes of the Twilight Zone, and at least in my mind, they're much darker than these end up being. So who do we have here? Joe Dante is the director.
I mean, just there's more than this, but this is some of the stuff at the time. And I guess, Gremlins, this reminds me a bit of Gremlins, that it's got horror with a comedic, cartoony, a guy who's watched a lot of Looney Tunes. He got to indulge that love here.
Explorers was not a bad movie at all. If I recall.
Very Spielberg-esque.
Yeah.
And of course, so we also have, and I think he was the one that said, we want to go cartoon characters, and then they follow that up with the animation too on the TV that Ethel gets sent to. All right.
So Jerome Bixby doesn't get a lot of credit. He was an interesting writer. He did A Curse of the Faceless Man's a piece of trash, but I love it. It's a statue from Pompeii comes to life. It could happen. The Terror from Outer Space is absolutely fantastic and was the inspiration for Alien. I don't care what anyone says. I love that movie. But probably his most influential thing was he's the guy who wrote the Mirror Universe episode of Star Trek. And that episode has been used by everyone who has ever done a Star Trek,
series.
series since.
Yeah.
The mirror episode
Like,
always pops
they've
up
had
because
one.
it's freaking
Mhm.
awesome. You know,
Mhm. Like
And
the
in-
whole like discovery thing has like a really definitely a whole mirror
Right.
and
world.
in
It's
fact,
just
I'll call it
crazy.
now. I'm going to bet that the upcoming Marvel Avengers movies are going to do their own version of the mirror universe, because I can't think of any other good way to explain how Robert Downey Jr. becomes Doctor Doom. But okay, I guess we'll find out. But he's a good writer, and I'll tell you, if you can find that short story, read it. It's
great.
genuinely unnerving.
So he also did. You've got the Mirror there, but he did 3 other episodes of Star Trek. The other 3 are By Any Other Name, which was also in season 2, and then season 3 he did Day of the Dove and
That's a good
Requiem for Methuselah.
That was okay. Day of the Dove was fun.
Now I'm going to throw this out because not many people have seen it. There's a movie in 2007 called The Man from Earth.
Yes.
That
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. And what it was a script that he was working on, or a book. I forget what all he was doing with it. But after he died, his son just pushed and pushed and pushed until it was made a movie, until he got the movie out. And it's I don't think I'm spoiling it by telling you this, but it's like a guy who's lived like 10,000 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out he's been all the
Great
you know,
people
like
of history.
Yeah, he knew Buddha. He's Jesus. He knew Muhammad. I don't know. Yeah, he just all these situations he was in throughout history, and he's a college professor. And then after he's in a place for a while, and they start to notice that he doesn't age, he takes off and starts over again somewhere.
Mm-hmm. It's a very cerebral science fiction, but it's good.
Yeah, it's like a play, really. They spent most of it. It takes place inside a cabin, on the weekend with 4 or 5 people. Anyway, I would highly recommend that. All righty. Well, Jerome Bixby, The Unknown. Well, what else do we have here? Kathleen Quinlan.
I just want to say I love her.
I do
too.
She has not been used enough, but she was so good in this. And
It's wild that she was married to Bruce Abbott for some reason.
yeah, she's my favorite type. She is drop dead beautiful without being that artificial Hollywood starlet kind of thing. She's approachably gorgeous. And
I love that top,
seems really intelligent too. She's obviously the smartest person in this story.
Oh yeah.
Although, I will say, so let me throw this out. Did anyone get? Am I reading too much into this? The ending, a very positive ending, where she is going to take this child and tutor him and teach him and learn from him and everything else. I got kind of weird vibes from that. Like,
of
for one thing,
course, you
I would
did.
love to see what happened. I mean, this is the one story here. I'd like to see 10 years later what happens.
Nothing
one
good.
If
It's
this
like
were-
the ultimate challenge for this teacher who's bored with their job,
but
right?
if this
So-
were an older guy and a younger girl, people would be like, "Well, that's kind of creepy." It's
Well,
like, I still
no,
think it's a little creepy.
it felt creepy. No, it was creepy.
Yeah.
Like because he's like, "You're going to be with me always," and she's like, "Yep, always." Clearly, he had a crush on her.
Yeah.
It's so obvious.
But
So,
and what a
like,
terrifying
yeah, it's a
thought
little
that
weird.
a child who will soon become a teenager, yikes,
Emotionally immature,
and has the power of a
Yep.
god.
Yeah.
And then you think, so many stories you could do with this. What's she going to do? Is she just going to try to teach him to not use his powers? Is she like Superboy's parents who just have to you got to blend in with the rest of the people? Is she going to basically say, I've got God on my side. I can take out all these bad players in the world. Oh, you're a dictator? You're dead now. Basically wish him into the cornfield. And what is that power going to do? What happens when he grows up?
Yeah.
There's
well, she is trying to get him to not use
Stop being
his
so
powers.
selfish.
Yeah. Although
Like,
he is nowhere near as evil as he was in the story or in the original Twilight Zone episode. If he had been, that kid who like pushed him away from the video game would have
Right.
ended up
oh,
like a
oh
jack in a
yeah.
box or something.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
but what I think was happening there is that he had already noticed her, even though it didn't like show that, and he
Yeah,
was intentionally trying to get her
you're right.
attention. Because I mean, the way he reacted with everyone else seemed to be so quick to anger and stuff, but
Mhm.
he seemed to be very cool with. And I don't know, it does seem like he kept going around the town and he was normally there because the dude knew him. I mean, they knew he was playing the game. I don't know, it's very odd because the way that they interacted with him was very different from the way that the family reacted
Yeah.
to him. So maybe he's okay in the town. I don't know.
Yeah,
I would love to explore that a little further, but I mean, I'm sure. Yeah.
right. In the original story, when he was born, he tore his town away from the Earth. No one's sure if they're now
Right.
just floating in space or if the entire Earth was destroyed except
Yeah.
for them. They don't know.
They don't
Wow.
know if well, and even in the Twilight Zone, they don't know if the town was set somewhere or if he disappeared the rest of the Earth.
Yeah.
Her
He's
first
powerful.
part was in American Graffiti.
Oh,
She just had one line, but an auspicious beginning.
and was she not nominated or maybe even won the Academy Award for a supporting actress in Apollo 13?
Yes, nominated. I
Oh
think.
wow.
She was very good in that.
I saw something else there, and anyway, Event Horizon too.
Oh yeah,
Oh
God.
yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is. I have it there. Yeah. Yeah. Great
It's
movie.
faded. It's faded into the dark.
Yeah.
And The Hills Have Eyes. Yeah.
Mhm.
The remake, yeah.
Yeah, she's a fine actor, and she does a good job in this of playing that like. And you know, I was thinking about this just after looking up all these movies or information about the helicopter crash. I'm watching this and I'm looking at it. I swear it looked like there really was a kid riding that bicycle and
I
rode it
know,
right
that
into the
got
back
hit by
end of
the
that car.
vehicle. Oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have kid stuntmans, or I suppose they could have put a dummy on it, and if they cut it fast, I wouldn't have noticed the difference.
Yeah.
But
They could have pushed it out there and it happened. So
Right.
just push the bike because it did look. It looked
Maybe it was
rough.
Felix Vila.
Yeah, fun times.
all right, and there he is.
Sweet kid, huh,
He's
Crystal?
so spoopy looking. I mean, he looks scary to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like that kid is like, looks. He's a little cutie. He for sure,
Mhm.
but he also like when he has that smile, it's like, oh God, no.
Oh, when he's about to
smiling
zap
at like,
Ethel.
oh,
I wonder who it was. Ethel, what a surprise. You're like, yeeks. What's he gonna
Yeah.
do?
Okay, did anybody ever see a TV show called Valerie,
mm-mm.
86 to 91? He was 110 episodes of that.
Was that the Valerie, the actress from the Mary Tyler Moore show?
No. Later, it might be. Let me look here. Oh, it is.
I can't remember her name though.
I can't either. Valerie Harper. That was her name. All right.
And if I remember right, she left the show or something, and then it continued as like Valerie's Family. It's like, Joe, just cancel. When your star
that's
leaves,
weird.
cancel the show. But I guess they did just rename.
Yeah, she only did 32 episodes. That's why she's so far down in the credits. But anyway, yeah, he does a fine job in this. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
good. It's a tricky role.
He is a creepy kid. And then this one actually has the most sort of genre credit from my point of view. But look at that hallway there. I mean, how
Isn't that
creepy that looks.
Mhm.
kind of Dr. Caligari there?
Like
Yeah.
every shot and the lighting and then the colors and everything. And then when it's like blinking behind him and he's just,
Mhm.
Joe killed it.
It's that cartoon
Yeah.
aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. And even like the walls and stuff. When you look at like the furniture and the colors they painted the walls and
Yeah.
stuff, like they totally did like this.
Oh, the fixtures in the room were like cartoony.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
Yep.
his bedroom had like a row of like 4 beds with big stuffed animals on.
Oh yeah. Oh, the sister's room, Sarah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So here's the rest of the cast: Kevin McCarthy, William Schaller. Holy cow, he's got 390 credits.
Whew.
It was Patty Duke's father, I think, on the
Mhm.
Patty Duke show.
Oh, yeah.
But we do know Kevin McCarthy was there.
Oh yeah. And Piranha.
And then, like we said, Nancy Cartwright is there on the right, the voice of Bart Simpson. And the other woman is Patricia Barry. And she's, at this point in her career anyway, she's kind of the standard mother.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hate when I look these people up and they're all dead.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
2016.
It's funny because that's all I think about when I watch this stuff. I was like, they're dead.
Ooh,
That person's dead.
ooh.
That's what I was saying to Sean. I was like, I bet
No, the
they're
80s
dead.
was 40 years ago, so you know.
Yep. It's
She
like,
was in Chad, The Beast with 5 Fingers.
Oh dear.
That has nothing to do with me.
She was 24 years old. Oh, it's written by Kurt Siodmak.
Yeah.
Peter Lorre. So yeah, these people all do a great job of just. I swear they're ad-libbing. Does it seem like it? Kind of. I mean, they're all just.
because they seem so natural.
Yeah, they're just so scared.
But I think they're just good. I think
well, they are.
just
They're all
good.
very good. They all
Mm-hmm.
are very good.
It's a cool trick because they are acting.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you might say, well, it's a little over the top. Well, yes, because they are supposed to be acting. They're trying to pretend that they're happy because, especially in the original story,
Mhm.
if you ever
Yeah.
expressed any unhappiness, Anthony would do something to you. He might try to fix it, or he might, you know, get petulant about it. But either way, you're going to end up worse off. So
really-
everything
Yeah.
is good, no matter what happens.
I
Everything
mean, in
is
the
good.
original episode, they do this. It's the same thing. It's real good that you made that 3-headed gopher egg.
Yeah, that's a fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's real good how you killed that. You know.
Jeez Louise. It's awesome. That's crazy.
But here they
It's-
take the edge off of that by having it, you know, everything. It's just like this is a kid's dream come true. Every meal is chocolate cake and ice cream, and the TV plays nothing but cartoons, and you got your family around, you know, wishing you a happy birthday, and
And
yeah,
their supper is hamburgers with peanut butter on it,
Oh,
and ice
most
cream
disgusting thing
sundaes,
in all.
and
Yeah,
something else. And
scariest part of this movie was that meal.
But what's sad is like how excited they got to eat. So it's like they don't eat or get to do anything.
they don't get to eat unless he says it's time.
I love when they find her
'cause
cigarettes.
They can't leave the house. Yeah.
They find her
Mhm.
cigarettes, and they're just like, oh, you know.
and
and
they're all sitting there on the stairs smoking. And they put a note in her purse.
And then when he comes down, they're like trying to shoo the smoke away, like a kid caught smoking weed by his parents.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got some pictures here of these Rob Bottin creations.
They're so
Oh
cool.
man, look, that's the best part of this movie. That
It is.
Crystal's right. That rabbit is awesome. And doesn't it remind? It reminded me one of my favorite cartoons, Rocky and Bullwinkle, and Rocky would always try to pull a rabbit out of his hat, and usually be like a rhinoceros or a lion or some giant head comes out, and that's what that reminded me of.
Well, and the creations made. All the noises they made were like cartoon sound effects, you know.
Mhm.
And when he comes out of the TV, I was expecting to see some version of the Tasmanian Devil. The first
Me
time I
too.
saw
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah, because it's doing the thing. That one at the top on the right, it looks like those toys that they made. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Oh God,
Kinda remind me of
Monster. I want
the
to say
old
Mad Monster, but I don't
Big
know.
Daddy
they look
Roth
like-
or whatever.
Yes. They that's what they were kind of remind me of, that thing, and the thing on the left on the top too, kind of.
Yeah. But then the bottom picture, the sister.
Oh, I love the little elf thing too. That's blowing the air.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He's cute. But the sister, that's kind of hearkening back to the original concept, because she mouthed off to him one time too many. I don't know how she eats, but
that rabbit though, man, that's just the chef's kiss on that rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
You can
It
tell
looks
Rob
amazing.
Bottin had something to do with that.
yeah.
Yeah, they said somewhere. I think it was Joe Dante told him not to don't do anything like you did in The Thing. I want him to be more cartoony. So
It's like perfect because it's still scary, but
He's
it
still
is
like
cartoony.
he is like The Thing, only he's more
it
symmetric.
is.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, this
So,
one
but
is,
it's
that
great.
one, the rabbit is nasty. The other ones have big sharp teeth, but they somehow seem not threatening.
It's a good setup too, because he doesn't want to reach into the hat, but he's got no choice. He reaches and pulls out a rabbit. And you're like, oh,
Mhm.
everyone, okay. And then you go to the well one time too many, and that's what happens.
And then the sister who's sitting there watching cartoons and her mouth is plastered shut or has no mouth. Her mouth has been taken. And be careful, Anthony will send you to the cornfield.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We don't know what's in the corn. All right.
A lot of bodies.
Let's see. What else? I know you have Creepy Kid, Monsters. Oh, and Sally Crookshank.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The cartoons.
She came to my college and was selling animation cells. It's one of my regrets. I didn't
Oh,
pick
wow.
one up. She really cool style, very, very influenced by like the old Fleischer cartoons, the Betty Boops and everything, which when you watch them now, it's like I thought LSD was invented in the 50s, but apparently there was something floating around in the 20s and 30s because these cartoons are crazy. Well,
Those are great. It does.
She kind of caught that vibe.
It does. That Top Shot reminds me of a couple of Betty Boop cartoons, even though they were black and white, but the ghost and the creepy thing.
So it was cool seeing her, and that's a pretty sweet death too. You know, putting her in there and being chased by all these hellish animations.
And she's just drawn. She's not really swallowed. She just becomes inside the mouth of the.
Yep.
All right.
So keep that in mind with the happy ending where he goes walking off with the hot lady. This guy has
so
killed
weird.
people. He's a murderer, a mass murderer with the powers
Maybe
of
she's
a
not
god.
dead. She might not be dead.
And maybe the sister's still not there up there watching TV.
Yeah, and what happened to the rest of the cast? It goes, I sent them away far from me. Yeah, far from me on the dark side of Pluto, probably.
Yeah.
But
okay. Segment 4, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. Directed by George Miller, written by Richard Matheson from a Richard Matheson story. The cast is John Lithgow, Abby Lane, Donna Dixon, who shortly thereafter was married to Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, yeah.
John Dennis Johnston plays the co-pilot. Charles Knapp, who's the FAA marshal. Larry Cedar plays the creature. Christine Nigra is the little girl with the W.C. Fields doll. And Carol Serling, Rod Serling's widow, is one of the passengers in one of the seats.
Oh, that's cool.
Makeup artist is listed as John M. Elliott Jr. Special makeup effects, Craig Reardon, Michael McCracken, and Michael Sean McCracken. And I looked these guys up, and Michael McCracken didn't have a lot of credits, but Michael Sean McCracken does, and that's his son. And I saw a little interview where he was talking about being a second generation in sculpting and stuff like that. And he's had some Emmy nominations and things. He has quite a few credits. So early on in his career, the synopsis: a writer is scared to fly, and soon he sees a monstrous creature destroying the airplane engines during a stormy night. The guy in the picture here is John Dennis Johnston, somebody I recognize. I don't know why. He very often plays bad guys, thugs, or even maybe not too smart guys. But what I liked about him in this one is he's sort of cast against type.
Yeah.
He's a very nice, level-headed co-pilot that talks him down, whereas usually he plays, like he was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He was in Wyatt Earp, the movie. But anyway, I'm trying to think of the most famous episodes of the Twilight Zone, and this is at least one of them.
Yeah. The creatures making me laugh. They love being in that costume. Look, they're like, I'm so spoopy. Look at me.
George Miller.
I mean, George Miller, what can you say? God dang, this guy, older than Methuselah and still cranking out visionary movies.
Road Warrior, Mad Max, Furiosa.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Witches of Eastwick. I love that movie.
Me too.
Great stuff.
But what an improvement on that creature, though.
Oh my God. I should have included a picture of the original because it is just so awful. Like they just were scrounging around and they had just a teddy bear costume and they messed up the face a little bit and made him a gremlin. And this one is so cool looking. And even in the few close-up shots we get, manages to actually have a personality.
Mm-hmm.
I love this shot of him grabbing John Lithgow, and he's like, what's he going to do? He's just been tearing up an airplane. He's going to rip his face off, and then sees that they're about to land and just gives him the little finger wag, naughty, naughty, and takes off. And you're like, wow, that was great.
Flies off. Pretty cool flying effect, too.
Yeah.
For the day.
Yeah, we shot really well with all that, the storm and everything, and how you could actually, you're still able to see it.
It was actually ripping pieces off of the engine and throwing it into the engine.
Into the engine, yeah. He was not a fun gremlin.
Nope, he was not. But also, I like the way when you first see him, how like it's almost like hard to see how he's just kind of like going. He almost looks like he's like swimming in the. I don't know. It's very cool. And John Lithgow killed it.
Yeah,
he's so good. He's so good.
Lithgow's performance was a lot more manic and a little bit more believable than Shatner's version, I think.
Yeah.
But he really, really, really was good in it.
Oh, I think they both were. Shatner's pretty crazy.
There's a really funny bit years later on the show, Third Rock from the Sun, starring John Lithgow. Bill Shatner shows up also as an alien, I think, if I remember right. But the funny bit is
big head boss. Yeah.
Yeah. He says, I would have gotten here earlier, but there was like a man on the wing, and Lithgow's like, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. That's cute.
That is cute.
Oh, Lithgow's great in this.
God, he's better than great. He is
basket case.
Y'all, I'm such a huge John Lithgow fan. I can't explain to you how much I think.
Did I not make a?
You probably did, but I'm busy.
Okay.
Loading up the. Here we go.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes. It's been a long time since I've seen it. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
That's.
It looks like the inside of my winter coat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So in the Twilight Zone episode, Shatner, you get the idea that he kills it. He shoots it a bunch and it reacts to the shots and goes off the wing. And this one,
and then it goes.
He delays it enough until it comes through the crowds and is coming in on the runway, and then it leaves.
I'm sure the Night Stalker used that costume in a couple of times in a couple of episodes.
They should have. They should have. This is crazy. I thought it. I didn't freeze frame it, but it did look like when that thing showed up face to face. Eyes bulged.
This is one of those things when they didn't realize we were going to eventually have VHS and DVDs where we could freeze frame. You're watching this and it's subliminal. It's such a fast shot that you're like, what? But now you can stop the frame and you're like, what the hell were they thinking? If that
I love it because the way the transition worked, it looked so good though. I mean, that was cool. Even like, because I watched it with Mason. Mason was like, "Whoa, that's kind of." Mason thinks the whole thing is dumb. That there's this thing. He's like, "Oh, so there's just a creature that's like flying around up there attacking."
Well, they talk about
like, yes.
And again, in the TV show, they actually bring up the idea of gremlins from World War II. That was a thing that.
Okay.
Talk about gremlins. Gremlins cause problems in the planes.
Whenever they had a mechanical problem, it was always gremlins that did it. But I noticed that middle picture. I noticed that in watching it this last time for the first time. I've noticed that the eyeballs bulging.
Well, here's the he's totally out of it. He's sweating. He's shaking. He does a great job. Yeah.
It looks neat. Look at that.
It's very cool.
There's a great shot of it sitting on the engine.
I wish we could see it clearer in the movie or in the movie.
Yeah.
Because.
Yeah, I guess having it be kind of indistinct and everything gives some plausible deniability. Is this guy just crazy? Because that helps. If I'm in that position, he's even talking to himself because that makes no sense. A person they would suffocate. They would have fallen off.
Yeah.
I can't be seeing what I'm seeing.
Right.
So the fact that it's happening in a rainstorm, you could be like, it's a trick of the eye. It's until you open up the window and there's the face looking right at you, like, okay, yeah, it's a gremlin.
Well, even Mason was like, "Is it really there, or is it?" And I was like, "No, it's there. It's there." Like, because he was thinking, "Is this dude just going crazy too?" He wasn't sure if it was. I was like, "No, it's there."
Occam's razor would say,
"Well, it's ripping
it's
ripping the engines apart."
Yeah,
it's ripping the engine apart, but it does get hit by lightning too.
Right,
the thing is sitting there. So, did it draw the
lightning?
Lightning?
Well, like it actually drew the lightning. Yes,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's because it was holding something up as a lightning stick, as a lightning rod, for sure. Like
it's nothing that they don't explain it, but you can make up your own explanation. This thing seems to be some ancient trickster demon. I don't know, but it's cool.
I don't even care. Okay, yes, I don't even freaking care. That's the thing. Like, I appreciate shit like this, and the fact that it went up and it was like, Oh my God. I was like, so my mom told me I did that to her when I was like 2 or 3.
What?
I went, because I had grabbed her face and was like twisting and pulling, and she said it hurt. And she's like, stop. And she like pushed me, and then I went, and I did it again. And then she grabbed my face and did the same thing. And
that's one of those scenes too that you remember, because I'm watching this. I haven't seen it for a long, long time, and my mind is going, I'm sure there's a spot where he grabs his face with his hand, but I'm not seeing how that's going to happen. The window's there, blah blah blah, but then boom, it comes up. That's the thing I remember from this one.
Well, what's so funny is they're like, and he had a gun too, and that guy's like, no, that was my gun.
Yeah, weird flex, dude. Yeah.
Oh, I love how the fire marshal is clutching the W.C. Fields doll.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What an annoying little kid.
Fields.
Oh, yeah, that little kid was awful. She was more awful than the kid in episode 3.
Whatever. She's wonderful. She was the little girl from Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, really?
Dagger. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love that movie. Dabney Coleman. Mm-hmm. Did y'all not see Cloak and Dagger?
I did.
A long time ago.
I love Dabney Coleman, but I don't remember that one.
Well, I remember I was in love with the little kid. Was it Henry Thomas or whoever? I don't know. When I was a little kid, I was like, he's so cute.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did a few things. She was out of this world TV series. She was in 71 episodes of that from 87 to 91.
Oh my God. She was an alien. She was a robot, I think, or
her
something.
birth father is an alien, and she has supernatural power. The teenager does. So she wouldn't be a teenager yet, I don't think, but maybe. I can't tell.
I remember that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Donna Pescow.
I feel like I remember that.
The mother.
There was a show where the little girl was a robot, though.
Holy cow. Burt Reynolds was the father.
Oh, that's fun.
And I don't know what. Anyway. Crazy stuff. So anyway, I thought she was great. I mean, was she annoying? Heck yeah, but she was great.
I hate her.
Well, it's funny because she liked him at first. Why would y'all hate her? He was crazy. He was insane.
Yeah.
He was smoking on the plane with this little kid there. No kid likes. Look, y'all. Maybe just because I was a kid, but I freaking could not stand. My parents smoked, and I'm like, y'all, that's disgusting. Can you not smoke? Okay.
I was that same irritating little kid.
Then he's a loon. He's a complete and utter freaking loon. So I think she acted pretty responsibly.
Yeah, and then there's the mother over there asleep going, oh, what did she do now? Proving the fact that she's a little annoying.
She's done this before.
She had too many sedatives or Dramamines or something there.
I would have slapped that kid so hard.
No, you would not.
Would have knocked that camera right down to aisle 13.
The funniest part is, though, when the dude grabs her and she's like, strange man has me. And no one gives a
No, nobody gave a crap.
What the hell?
And the mom probably went back to sleep when she did that. I hope they keep her this time.
That's why it was meant to be. She was funny. That was ridiculous.
Any final comments on that episode?
No, I can't tell you for sure if it's the Joe Dante or that one that's my favorite. I love them both for different reasons.
Now that we're kind of there, I saw somewhere that Roger Ebert rated the episodes individually. And he gave Time Out a 2 out of 4 stars, I think. And Kick the Can was 1.5.
Yeah, fair.
And then It's a Good Life and Nightmare at 20,000 Feet were each 3.5.
Okay. I'll take that. Out of 4, sure.
Usually I disagree with him because I can't stand Roger Ebert, but that's pretty fair.
Well, he doesn't like horror movies, so it makes him hard to trust for that. But
ever since he gave The Thing a bad review, said it was nothing but trash.
Exactly. See, that's his problem. He doesn't like horror movies. I do not trust reviewers to review horror movies. Like, that's why I don't review other types of movies, because I don't freaking like them. So why would I freaking review
don't
it?
Make me watch a rom-com and expect a happy result.
I'm gonna tell you, I mean, review what you know and what you like. Then you know, that's fair. Yeah.
All right, then we have the prologue, and we got this one shot here where Dan Aykroyd's the ambulance driver for John Lithgow. Want to see something really scary? I saw John Lithgow. I asked him, what happened after that? And he goes, I told them no, and so they drove me to the hospital.
There you are. It's a test, and he passed.
I mean, whoever wrote that part, I think Landis wrote the 2 bookend pieces. He must have thought he was so smart for figuring that out. Oh, we'll have him say, I don't know
what it is.
I thought that was the dumbest. It was just so stupid. I'm sorry. I'm really sleepy right now. So I'm probably a little more ornery than I usually would be.
No,
all right.
So I'm
going to give Chad a Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Actually, give me a Snickers bar.
For me, this movie is almost like a nostalgia trip. You know, just having that music play at the beginning. And I know you didn't like the prologue, but I didn't care when they play music I like. I don't care if it fits. I like it, and I love the CCR Midnight Special, and I love the humming theme songs back and forth and trying to guess it. All that stuff was just so much nostalgia for me. And then to want to see something really scary. And any final comments on the movie? Paul hanging over it, that's just.
Yeah, it is, but
It's still one of those I'll watch. I'm glad to watch. But, it's like every portmanteau. There's always sections you don't like.
Right.
And
Yep.
sections that are good. So.
and it does get better as it goes along. So there's that. That's probably the way to go.
Seriously, I think I would like Kick the Can a lot better if the music wasn't so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
Anyway. Well, then we get that guy playing out there. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Let's go to feedback. We got feedback.
We got that guy on the podcast that keeps repeating himself over and over again.
Yeah. We got feedback.
I'll take that Snickers now.
Dolls, episode 239. Chad, you want to take that?
From Sound of Silence. I love the part when the punk lady said they're fucking dolls. Hee hee.
Well,
Now, wait a minute.
okay.
I think there's two different people have access to Sound of Silence account.
Oh, so we're the conduit of this prank.
Well,
Or
ours
maybe-
is not to do or die. Ours is whatever.
Maybe it's multiple personality thing
Oh.
going on here. Sound of Silence loves that kind of stuff. All right, appreciate it. Episode 272, The Gate. Bill from Oik.5.
Oik.5 says of the gate, can either of you three guys please ask the beautiful red-haired lady to go out on a date with me sometime? Thanks. Much obliged. We can do
That's
that.
so sweet. That's so
that,
sweet. I have
8.5.
no idea who you are, though.
Hey,
just wanna
Crystal,
mention
will you
your
ever go out
own-
on a date with Oik.5 sometime?
Listen, Oink, as one friend to another, just want to let you know, for your own sake, her husband Sean is a large fellow,
He's a pretty big guy.
a pretty big guy,
Yeah.
broad shoulders, big arms.
Big beard, long
beard.
beard.
And I think could probably dig a pretty big hole to bury
He's like
bodies in.
he's like the sweetest person ever.
Yeah,
He'd be
but, you
like,
know,
that's so
Yeah.
nice
Sean-
of you. Like,
Sean is one of the nicest guys on earth.
Can you
but I
see?
think
Can
if
you
some
see
random
Sean out
0.5
digging a hole to
comes
bury
walking up
somebody
and
in?
starts hitting on his wife, he may not be so nice. Nothing.
I just
ventured, nothing
picture,
gained.
I picture Sean just out in the backyard digging a hole to dump
Yep.
somebody. I can't.
So
I
make your
couldn't
choices
picture
carefully,
that.
Oink.
Saved my life.
I know. He'd be like, oh, actually, I'd be the one
He goes,
digging the
can't
hole.
one of the guys? Can't one of the kids do it?
But to the larger point, let's give the man credit. She is beautiful and she does
you.
have red hair. So
That's so sweet. Like, I love that. That's Oik.5. Oik.5. Thank you.
oh,
You just made my night.
I'm sure there's a
there you go.
meaning behind that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to like. OPF. I don't know. If you're listening, tell us what that means.
If you say it backwards, it's 5 oink. So
Mm.
Okay, next up, episode 276, Dead and Buried from Travis McDonald. Crystal, could you take that one?
Cool little flick here. Saw this one ages ago and had just forgotten about it. The film has a creepy atmosphere to it, and Jack Albertson plays a great villain. Enjoyed the review, and it was a treat to have Mr. Crosby on this one. Agreed. He did a great job. Best wishes. He did a great job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I agree.
Thank
yes.
you. And Travis McDonald comes again with episode 278, Angel. Chad.
Travis says, really enjoyed this review. Found this one on YouTube after watching the review here, having never seen it. It's an odd film that feels like John Waters and Charles Band collaborated for a project. The movie is better than I expected, but I got a kick out of Chad's somber bashing of it. Yeah, I can't stand that fucking movie. The egg sucking scene wouldn't fly today because the cost of eggs would send the film over budget. That's a good one.
Mhm.
And I can
But it is
relate to
kind of.
I can relate to Jeff's fandom of Rory Calhoun. See, we can't figure that out. The three of us can't figure that out. I'm a
I
long
love
time,
Rory Calhoun.
yeah, but I can't
That-
figure out why Jeff is such a man crush on Rory Calhoun. I'm a longtime fan of Miles O'Keefe. Is that his kid or something?
No.
Do you know who that is?
I know Miles O'Keefe.
Bill,
Yeah,
Bill,
Well, keep
Bill.
reading.
his movies are dreadful for the most part, but he has a coolness to him. And he was in the underrated 80s horror film Waxwork. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Oh, yes.
Keep up the great work. He was also in the Bo Derek Tarzan movie as Tarzan.
Didn't we
Yes.
do Waxwork? Didn't I suggest Waxwork? It was my pick, I think.
We have not done it. I went to put this on our recommendations list, but it's already there, Travis.
I'd rather do
I
Tarzan.
think I said something about Waxwork, but
I like some parts of
remember.
Waxwork.
All right. Also on Angel from Robert Baker. Bill?
This is actually one I didn't see back into the day, but I remember around my high school, it was a movie a lot of people talked about. I wasn't really interested by the description. When I saw it was going to be covered, I found it online, gave it a watch. It wasn't bad, but not really my kind of movie. But it certainly is the 80s. My biggest thing, try making this today. LOL. You'll be LOLing in a new career. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want LOL
that's for
too.
sure.
Don't try making this movie ever
No.
again.
Oh, such hatred.
Oh, there's
for
that somber
movie.
Chad
So
we
good.
love so much. Why did I
Smell those
freeze
car
again? I don't
adjacent.
understand. I did nothing and I froze.
I put a spell on you.
Well, we only got a couple left. Episode 279, Inferno.
Inferno. Jose
Crystal.
Luis Herrera. Believe it or not, I haven't seen either this one or Tenebrae. I did get this one as a gift on that Blue Underground Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it yet. I've heard that's awesome that you got it. I heard it's a good copy.
Yeah,
You better
keep-
get to watching it, man. That's
Yeah,
a good movie.
if you like them, I mean, if you like them, you're gonna like Inferno. I think. I get everyone has a little different take on it, but I think it's pretty cool, man.
Mhm.
Pretty cool, man.
Get on it, Chris. Get on it.
Yeah.
All righty.
Mhm, yeah.
I hope you're feeling better too. You probably will be by
Oh.
the time you hear this, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you, Jose from Antique Video Game Nut.
God, I like that name. It's cool.
it sounds like a candy bar. Either that or
Where are we at? I
I
think we're at
I
Chad,
w-
right?
Chad, you're making me really hungry. Like now, I
Yeah.
really want a Snickers.
Well, wait till you hear this.
Almond Joy.
Irene Miracle's character wasn't chopped into cat meat, but she got a nasty yet spectacular death involving a broken window. Doesn't a cat
Yeah.
meat sandwich
I
sound
want a bowl of
delicious
cat
right
meat
now?
now. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I think I forgot how
so
she
yummy.
died at one point in there and thought that she just kind of disappeared. But yeah, she got.
It's kind of hard to follow the narrative of a movie that doesn't really have one.
Appreciate
Fair.
straightening me out. Where are we at? That was Chad. Bill Gregory Crosby on Inferno.
All right. Watch how my lips never move as I do a little ventriloquism here.
Oh no.
A few years ago, they did a big Argento retrospective at Lincoln Center, and Inferno was at the top of my list since I'd never seen it. It more than lived up to its reputation for gorgeous set pieces and unhinged plotting. Bill makes a good point. I think we can stop right there. The dream logic of Suspiria works better because Jessica Harper is such a strong protagonist. We so identify with her that it's like we're sharing her nightmare, which means everything does follow a certain dream logic. Inferno lacks that strong point of view. So instead, we get a jumble of nightmares that have no obvious connection to each other except in the fevered imagination of Dario Argento. But in this instance, who cares? The underwater sequences are fantastic, and as a New Yorker, I found the death by rats with an assist from the demonic hot dog vendor particularly disturbing. Great fun. Thank you, Gregory.
So
Thanks,
I
Gregory.
hung out with Brian, from Gruesome as well, and he's from New York, and he
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah.
telling me that that there's quite a few rats on the street. We were at
Oh
the
my
film
God,
festival
yes.
together. He was like, "There's so many rats." He's like, "No, New York's pretty clean now, except for the rats." And
Except
I'm
for
like,
the rats and the plague
what?
that they bring. Listen,
No,
Crystal, years ago, I
exactly.
took, when my
It's horrible.
daughters were much younger than they are now, we were in New York visiting their grandma, and I took them out to the park and did what I did when I was a kid. We bought Planters peanuts, stomped on them, and then fed the pigeons. And then they're like,
Oh,
look, here comes some squirrels. Yeah, these weren't squirrels. The squirrels are long gone. These were big
Yeah.
hopping rats, the size of
Ugh.
like baby raccoons.
When I
actually
was in New
like
York
that, but
visiting the DC Comics offices once, and that was in Manhattan. I was walking down the street in front of this other guy who was eating like a bagel or a pizza or a piece of pizza or something. A rat the size of a raccoon. I mean, it
oh God,
was big. It comes out, grabs the back of the man's pants,
shut up! Are you
Oh,
serious?
God.
grabs the
That's
back of the man's
horrifying.
pants. The guy looks down without missing a beat, throws the food down on the ground. The rat picks up the food, walks back into the alleyway, and the guy walks along like, "Oh yeah, this happens every day." And I was sitting over on the stoop, sucking my thumb, going, "Get me out of here! Get me out of here!"
New York, a hell of
He
a
throws
town.
the food on the ground, and the rat
He just
attacks him.
tossed
Yeah,
And
he-
he
the
goes, "Oh,
food.
here, okay, here."
because he knows what the rat really wanted. So he didn't want his butt; he
Apparently.
wanted the bud.
Wow.
All right, we got one last one from Rosano Macchione.
Macchione. Mm-hmm.
Go, Crystal.
Oh, it's me. Oh, before Inferno, actress Irene Miracle in Italy, 2 films, 1975, The Last Train in the Night, and The Bear Door, 1976. I liked
Excellent.
her a lot. I liked Irene Miracle.
Mhm.
I do too.
I think she did a really good job. So, yeah. Yay, thank you.
Well,
Rosano,
yes.
Gregory,
Thank you.
an antique
Uh,
video net. I'm doing Jeff's job.
Do it. Do it.
And Jose Luis Herrera and Robert Baker and
But
Travis
most of all-
McDonald and I was going to say and Sound of Silence, but most of all, Oik Point 5. You have a blessed evening.
And
Don't-
Gregory Crosby.
Come on, Crystal. Don't.
I said Gregory. I did not leave Gregory out.
Did
Did
you
I
say
leave
No.
Gregory?
No,
No.
you didn't.
I said it second. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I don't think I left Gregory out.
We
That would be
love
sad.
our feedback. So everybody, please make comments. Tell about your experience watching that movie. Maybe your wicked uncle took you to it when you were 5, like Chad.
I know
did.
everyone has seen
Or-
this one. Come on.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh, heck
like,
yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, let us know. Or if we left something out or something about the movie that you think is interesting that we didn't mention, let us know. And you can make comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send emails to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com.
Yay.
And we have a Patreon group, and if you sign up for the Patreon group, you will get Decades of Horror sooner. It's just a couple of bucks. I don't know exactly what it is. It's like $2 or $3, I think, a month, and you get the Decades of Horror sooner. You can give more than that, but it does cost money to for the all the licensing and all that jazz, iTunes and.
Bill looks like he's trying to sell us ShamWows in that picture.
Yes.
He's frozen. All right.
Yeah. Let it
So
go.
that's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we are
Yes.
focusing on a specific film released between
Uh-oh.
1980 and 1989. Next up is one chosen by Chad.
And it's a
okay.
good one.
What are we doing?
George A. Romero's Day of the Dead, 1985.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Choke on him.
One of my
That's
favorites.
right. Say that again, Captain
Rhodes.
Joe Pilato. Yeah, Captain Rhodes. Speaking of which, this is our second double tap in a row. So Twilight Zone and this one, I think, were both done like 8 years ago, like 2017. So
It was a different
Oh,
time
wow.
back then.
totally different crew. And
Mhm.
Day of the Dead is awesome. So That's
Yeah, I'm
what we're
excited about
doing
that.
next.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it.
So thanks everybody for watching
Yeah.
or listening, however you digest this
I
one.
think we've entered
Wow.
into another
Pretty long.
time zone.
We have. It's actually it's
Yeah.
known as the Twilight Zone.
Yep.
Say
Chat,
good,
Netflix.
say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Night,
night.
everyone. I'm waving.